Grifter's Bible, a novel by El Shaboons, read by El Shaboons, with sound design by Monumental Sonic Architecture. Chapter 20, The Battle for the Lost Angels.
Beware the brass calf and the sweet music that sounds at his arrival.
I could hear Kendall's television from down the block. I looked to see if the utility van was anywhere in sight. It wasn't, so I got brave and left the alley behind the flop house. I let myself in the front door and crept up the stairs. I tried not to squeak on the loose flooring laminate as I snuck past Kendall's closed door.
All that glitters is not God.
I knew the saying well by then. The Reverend's commercial for livestock had repeated once every commercial break on channels 4, 5, and 8 for the last 3 days. The old coot was relentless. In anticipation of his summer Jubilee tour, the Right Reverend's people had posted over 60 hours of archival footage online. The clips were closet classics culled from VHS and Super 8 film shot throughout his preaching career. They dropped en masse so the market was flooded with content. It killed our daily view counts, and that drove Seth insane with rage. Skimming through the Right Reverend's playlist was like reviewing a sizzle reel for snake handlers. His tent days were presented in toto in a gallery of psychosomatic fainting spells, the laying of hands, the blowing of holy smoke. It dragged on like every miracle the man had ever performed was included. The faces of his audiences were savage, but they believed. Joey's door was cracked. I wouldn't go in, but I nudged the door open with my toe. The fan and AC were silent. It was hard to tell if the ransacked inventory of Joey's last known address had been tossed or picked through by prying hands, or if it was simply the vomitous proof that Joey had left behind. Then I saw the booby traps at the window. I saw black ink spattered in a slick down the wall. The wooden floorboard with the pikes of syringes was turned upside down so that the needles were flattened or broken off. I got a chill at the thought of a recent presence in the room. I got the hell out of there. Back on the street, I shivered like a cat ran over my grave. I took the long way back to the church. I caught a stiff whiff of wet peppermint, a smell as sharp as a pin in the atmosphere. I looked from side to side. I got a tingling feeling. Looky here. If it ain't the 7-day wonder himself. A smoked-out voice honked from outside of my peripheral vision. I rotated slowly, like a toy with dying batteries. I had to turn the full 180 degrees to see directly behind me. Asa Randall was skulking beneath a tree with his thumbs hooked in his belt loops. His lips were tight and one cheek was puffy. Somewhere inside, his molars met and I heard a muffled sound like bones being crushed into splinters. I listened to the breaking as he ground hard candy into rocks of sugar and sucked on the debris. His nostrils flared like he was getting a noseful of an amyl nitrate fart. His shoulders rose. My spine was a lightning rod of adrenaline. I took a step off the curb and retreated straight into a puddle of black water. One Chuck Taylor was soaked straight through to the skin. I tiptoed bow-legged out of the cold pool of oily water and shook off the wet black leaves from the soles of my shoes. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Asa lifted an eyebrow over the frame of his shades as he pushed off from the trunk of the tree. He didn't wait for my response. Not too quick on the uptake, huh? You slow? I flustered easy. I'm trying to deal with this, okay? I pointed at my soggy feet. Just hold on. I smelled a thundercloud of cheap cologne and hairspray, and when I looked up, Asa had closed the gap between us while I fretted over my wet socks. There was white foam at the corners of his mouth, and a rind of sweat glistened in the bristle of scrub just above his top lip. He looked down on me. Let me ask you, is this really your first shot at management? I replied with both impatience and reluctance. Well, yeah. So how far you think you can run this thing, huh? Hey, no offense, but how'd you know where to find me? Asa completely ignored my question.
You sure are jumpy.
He gave me 10 seconds of side-eye, and then he shook his head.
Y'all got me baffled trying to figure out how some sawed-off Jew boy come to be tied in with a dirtbag selling himself like he's the second coming.
He raised an eyebrow and smirked.
I mean, how much you really know about evangelism? You got any idea just how much there is out there for you to screw up? There's gators in these waters, and if you rile the wrong'un, you're gonna get yourself rolled.
Asa bellied up to me so I couldn't step away from the mug. The only way out of his withering glare was into the street. I tested an in-coat theory.
You wouldn't know anything about a Lone Star electric truck that's following me, would you?
Asa was unimpressed.
You either babbling to yourself or trying to bamboozle me one. But let me tell you something, boy. Don't you try and shine your way out of this in here. I'm trying to talk to you straight.
Asa shot his cuss and shook out his mullet.
I ain't the damn electric company. I'm a facilitator, and I'm all about getting my daddy whatever he wants. And he's all about getting talent out on a stage. Daddy knows what the people want, and he can afford to bring it to a whole lot more folks than you can.
Asa paused like I should be getting the message by then. I squished as I shifted my weight.
Well, praise Jesus. It sounds like we're all on the same track.
My voice was less than enthusiastic. Asa's finger shot up in my face and shook in apoplectic frustration.
Nah, see, I don't think we're even in the same business. That's my whole point. You stupid? I was born and raised in this life. Daddy's been gunning it to the metal for nigh on 50 years now. He and my pawpaw wrote most of the rule book the industry plays by these days. We don't know this thing. We are this thing.
Asa shivered in a rictus of fury. I put my hands up.
Hey, I didn't mean anything by it. You was just running lip is what you was doing. Your people are always talking. But where I come from, there's talking, and then there's knowing. And I know you come up on a secret stash of hellfire, and you don't know the first thing about how to tame it. Man, I ain't never seen the likes of your boy with those people. What he does. I don't like him, but I can't deny it. He's a box of dynamite out in the barn, and you ain't got clue one about how to keep it from blowing up in your face, now do you?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking business here. You listening? What if you throw a monkey wrench into some deal and it throws old boy's career off the path? You get your man tied into the wrong mess of scat for too many seasons, and that's all she wrote. He hits the bargain bin and plays state fairs until y'all run out of money. Daddy thinks that'd be a real shame. Daddy thinks your boy's got the clay to put asses in the seats. Daddy says he's gonna be a star. As long as he gets the right looking after, that is. Daddy's got that in covered.
Asa tapped his stubby finger to his forehead.
He knows how to stroke a gander so good it lays golden eggs. He can get that man on through to the other side of the mountain if that's where he's looking to go.
Asa curled his nose up at me.
Besides, you don't want the headaches, and there's plenty of them gonna come. I know you boys probably got your loyalty and whatnot, and that's whatever. But if you believe in this cat, you better turn him loose from that bag you're drowning him in. Let me and Daddy look after him from here on out. Get on Daddy's good side and maybe you wind up with a little finder's fee. And you can go run on back to selling diamonds or whatever it is you people do.
Asa took a step forward and I flinched.
Why not give everybody what they want?
He made a lazy shooing motion.
Just go away.
I shivered in the chill. Asa put his hands in his pockets and shrugged benignly.
Daddy wants to go out on top when he gets off the road here in a year or two. With that boy's energy, Daddy can line his nest and retire with a bona fide star. That's what he wants. And that's what I aim to give him. So that's what it's gonna be. Now step off.
He came off of the curb and bumped me like a brick wall as he avoided the stagnant pool. I double-stepped back into the deep end of the puddle and slipped on the scum in the gutter. My arms windmilled to ward off a backwards fall.
I'm gonna wait. Leave you be this time. Go on home and think on it, Asa warned, because next time I see you, I'm gonna collect my answer.
I mumbled,
"Well, you'll be waiting for Tish above,"
under my breath. I got a waterlogged foot up onto the curb and steadied myself. I stepped up from out of the gunk and heard a bush shake. My foot hit the grass on the parkway just as little Randy emerged from behind a hedge. I stopped frozen. He stalked forward. I pivoted and pushed off to make a run for it, but my wet shoe slid on a slick patch of grass. I stumbled headlong and smeared green and mud brown all down my right shin. I scrambled back up before I got stomped. My mind raced for a defensive play, but no plan B was forthcoming. I thought I was trapped, but Randy just walked past with his head down like a rhino. I started to turn my head to check him, but all I saw was a sharkskin elbow filling my peripheral vision. It connected with my cheek. I could hear the snap. My dental work exploded inside my head. The acid anxiety that fills those first few seconds of dread waiting for the electric pain to come online is almost worse than the pain itself. Almost. I went snowblind in Texas and my stomach lurched upwards. I gagged on powdered bits like chalk and saliva. I smelled the copper crunch of blood rising from out of my gums. My mouth was too full to cry or yell, so I took a knee, cradling the cheek and dribbling out shards of tooth and pulp. I still swallowed enough blood to make myself vomit. I bowed my head and yacked. The drums of palpitations drowned out all other sound. My vision flittered in a limpid flood of tears. I could see little Randy and Asa calmly waiting for cars to pass before walking briskly across the street. The back of Randy's neck looked like a stack of sausages. That's where I'd be aiming if I'd had a bat to swing. My back was racked with a salvo of dry heaves. When I collected myself from the spasm, Asa and Randy were gone. I limped back towards Commerce. My phone buzzed before I could even get my key in the door.
Nick?
It was Mary.
I'm still at work.
That meant the ER.
We had an overdose come in last night, and when he woke up this morning, he said he didn't have any kin.
Who? Mary paused a second too long and I started to get anxious.
We haven't ID'd him yet. He spoke your name in his struggles before he came to. So, can you come?
Joey Abraham looked like a pile of sweaty ashes splayed out on the gurney. His eyes were gutted as he stared off like a fish at something in another dimension. Long brown greasy hair matted to his cheeks and forehead. His nose was big and it had been flattened to the side like he'd pissed someone off.
Once that charcoal hits the belly, shoo!
Mary turned her nose up and shuddered.
Wrecks them for a spell. They always look like that.
Mary reached for his chart.
So you know him?
His boat-sized bare feet were filthy and I skeeved for the poor soul that got those bed sheets next.
Yeah, name's Joey. Joseph Abraham.
I dictated his particulars, the parts that I knew, stopping every now and again to let her writing catch up. Joey held onto the bed like he was going to slide off of the universe. His eyes flashed at the sound of my voice. Joey grimaced and wiped the drool from the corners of his mouth.
Sorry, man.
He rocked from side to side to resituate his ass cheeks on the mattress. Joey grunted.
I didn't tell her to call.
His fingertips were gnawed on, and raw enough to leave little pink tracks on the top sheet whenever he moved his hand away.
It's fine. She's a friend.
I was shocked at how gaunt he looked.
Are you gonna make it?
Joey was yellow and punch drunk as he struggled to define making it. He crossed his arms, hiding the webs of his elbows. Joey buried his hands deep in his armpits. Mary finished writing and held Joey's chart up in front of her mouth. She whispered to me,
We need the bed so he's free to discharge as soon as his legs will carry him. Will you take him to Brother Joseph?
I reckon. I frowned. I nodded my chin at Joey. Mary stepped over to the bedside and began breaking down the railing.
Can you get someone to give you a ride? He can't walk all that way in this condition.
I'll give Dwayne a call. They should be getting home from Oak Cliff here any time now. I drew back the curtain and held it for Mary. She followed me and pulled the curtain back to give Joey privacy to get dressed.
Where'd they pick him up at anyway? Bus stop on Ross. Ambulance driver was pumping gas and happened to look over and saw two men standing over him. Something about them. Strange. He said they were both bald. Driver chased them off and found fresh track marks on your boy's arms. He was shooting up on the street? Son. The ambulance driver said it looked like the two men were poking him. I tried calling Dwayne several times over the half hour that it took for Joey to wash his feet and mumble his way through the discharge process. But I never got an answer. The line just rang and no one ever picked up. Mary tried a few times from her phone and got the same results. She tried to modulate her tone, but Mary couldn't hide the note of concern in her voice as she dropped her phone into her apron. Well, I guess you can call a cab. See if old Mooney's in this neck of the woods. I caught Mooney Walker in the middle of dropping off a fare in the hospital district. I checked that I had enough cash for the ride and then requested a pickup. Mooney let Joey and me out on Walton at the mouth of the alley behind the bus. I held the door for Joey while he slouched out of the back seat. A pale ghost limned in dull amber outlines of jaundice and tracks. I looked over the roof of the cab and saw Dwayne round the corner. He was stalking down the sidewalk towards me. He was out of breath, sweating like a can. He had a crowd with him. They come up on us behind the Texas Theater. Dee looked like he'd been crying and he couldn't stop his hands from shaking. I was posted up like I do, just waiting there with the bus when I saw Lester come hustling up with his shirt all torn up and a whole mess of folks hot on his tail. They took my pack and my CDs. Lester lifted a bag of frozen peas away from his swollen cheek and fretted. Took a couple good pops to the mouth. They would have killed me if I hadn't given them the money. Torn me limb from limb, I imagine. That's what they said, at least. Who said that? Blood was pounding in my temples. My broken teeth were a 12-volt lozenge. We walked inside the church. Dwayne sounded exhausted. Boys, Brother Nick. Whole mob of them. There was a couple dozen or more in all. White boys, I can't lie. I tried to talk it out with them, but they wouldn't have it. They slapped my phone out of my hand and told me we owed a sanitation tax for selling trash in their neighborhood. They said if we come back to Oak Cliff again, there'd be some hanging to do. Said they had plenty of rope. Jesus. I shuddered on the praying floor. I scanned the limping crew. About 10 of them were roughed up. Almost half had been stripped of their packs and robbed of their stock of CDs and whatever money they'd made for the day. Joey looked thoroughly confused. It was after sunset when Seth returned to the church. He walked in the door all sunshine, but then quickly turned black when I dropped the bomb about the bus and crew. Seth ran outside to inspect the damage in the gathering dark. We all poured out into the night after him. We rallied at the lip of the alley and found Seth's head bowed like he was receiving Samistad from the Lord. They got a couple of the windows up front by the door. Dwayne spoke to his back. They were throwing rocks at us. He patted at the goose egg poking out of the top of his neat and clean. Some big ones, too, Lester interjected through the purple swelling of his lips. His voice cracked on his last word and his head dropped. Sarah came up from behind him and put her hand on the back of his neck. She looked at Seth and me. These aren't just kids out stealing. They meant business. If they see this bus back down there, they're gonna do what they said they'd do. Her jaw was set and her nostrils were grim. She spat. I'm too old for all this mess. Nobody's gonna mess with any of you while I'm around. Seth stepped forward and took command of the gathering. I know exactly who knocked y'all down. He steamed. I won't let this one stand. I will not be jacked with. And don't any of you ever be scared out of spreading the word either, he announced over the uneasy heads of the whipped sheep. We got our mission and the Lord is always looking out. They couldn't muster away the sound of their remaining anxieties with a few simple amens, so Seth threw his hands in the air and bowled them over. And the Lord said, surely I have seen the affliction of my people, and I am come down to deliver them. The Lord has shown me the hour when the scales will balance. In visions I have witnessed our deliverance. I promise you, the time is close when the man that hurt you is going to be laid low. And you're all going to be there in the front row when I cut this serpent down before the Lord and all creation. We will be avenged. Our suffering will be repaid. You have my word. Now how about you shut the hell up?
Kendall was dangling her janky torso out her top floor window.
How about I come up there and fix those teeth for you, lady?
Seth yelled right back.
Turn the volume down, kid.
She fixed her dirty white t-shirt. Her smoldering cigarette dangled.
Go suck your head, you troll. I'm almost done.
Kendall withdrew and let her window slam down. She shot Seth the finger from behind the smeared glass. The street went quiet for a beat. I looked over. The curtains in my old apartment were parted. 2 figures were watching us in the dark. I squinted. Their appearance was obscured in purple shadows, but I could see the shine of bald heads. One shadow reached over. The blinds glided back down in the sill. Seth looked back at the faces in the alley and carried on.
You'll just have to trust me when I say we'll inherit the earth away from these wolves that did this to you.
The street team might have gone back and soldiered through Oak Cliff all night long if Seth had said it was part of God's plan, but he ordered them to rest for the night. Billy Goat and Evil drove by about then, so Seth volunteered to give Dwayne a ride home to Oak Cliff. I tried not to notice the baseball bats mounted in the gun rack in Billy Goat's back window.
Don't,
I said to Seth's back.
What am I supposed to do?
He closed the truck door.
Treat it like a sore dick and don't jack with it,
I cautioned the whirlwind. Seth shook his head remorsefully and smirked.
I keep on telling people not to test me, but some folks just don't want to learn.
I tried to make Seth promise not to do anything violent with Dwayne around, but Billy Goat tore off before he could respond. He told me later that they prowled the streets between Jefferson Boulevard and the Reverend's Church, looking for a face that Dwayne could recognize from the attack. They even waited outside the gates of the old man's estate, but the house was hidden way back from the private road behind a hill, and it was full dark anyway, so there wasn't much else to do, barring going to the police, which Seth and I agreed was out of the question. So they dropped Dwayne off and came back to Deep Ellum.
What the hell is this?
Seth was in a bad mood for days. I shrugged at Joey's snoring form.
What do you want me to do? Mary asked me point blank if you'd minister to him while he recuperates. I can't tell her no. She'd be all over my ass. Besides, he's smart. He might come in handy. Handy how?
Seth screwed up his lips. I nodded my chin at the mess on the couch.
I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid that knows about neurotheology. He's been hacking since he learned his ABCs. Maybe he could help with the Reverend.
A wrinkle of a smile cracked Seth's sourpuss. I could almost hear the tank wheels of great war machines toiling their way into action. Retaliation crackled in the air around him. His head lifted high. He sneered. He pushed his shoulders back. He was a general glassing the field. Then, like he was prodded into consciousness for Seth's benefit, Joey audibly peeled his sweaty back up from the couch and propped himself up on a pockmarked arm.
Is there somewhere I can take a leak?
His voice was about 2 octaves deeper than normal.
1 second.
Seth bent at the hips to lean down close, inspecting Joey's glazed expression from about a foot away. Sniff here, consider there. Seth established heavy eye contact.
What do you know about hacking?
Joey gurgled, cleared his throat, and tried to speak.
I don't know. I've been testing betas of my own version of Configure D since February. A couple more tries and I'll have my own operable variant of the keto virus shellcode ready to go. I've been moving around a lot, so it's hard to work sometimes. But I'm close, though.
Jesus. Seth stood back up. He squinted.
Could you use that to deny business access to credit card services? Like so no one could buy merchandise from her place?
Seth had been daydreaming a plan to commandeer some aspect of the Right Reverend servers all week long.
Well, I'd probably do a simple DDoS attack.
Joey drew a circle in the air.
Just corral a shit ton of computers and work through those IP addresses so nothing's traceable.
Joey went on to assure Seth that the traffic around the Reverend's bustling e-commerce empire would dwindle overnight until only an occasional business transaction or order would go through. Seth screwed his lips up in appreciation. His right arm stretched out and pointed.
That way, my friend.
Seth loaned Joey $100 to buy some speed from a dominatrix that lived in Billy Goat's building. Joey set up shop over there because of all the distractions around the church. He went to work on the Right Reverend servers, hiding out in Billy Goat's DMT pyramid. I had my own cross to build, correlating schematics from Visuddhimagga and compiling relevant apps into a central database. I had to write quite a few lines of code to sew all the operations into a cohesive suite that would control Chuck's toroidal dipoles, and that's what occupied my mind for days.